Just a few months ago, I was listening to a podcast that featured a woman named Amanda Russell talking about how she views the world of marketing. I was enraptured. I felt like she could be writing the marketing materials for ExpertVoice and the advocacy platform. I literally stopped mid-block while walking my dogs to shoot off a few quick notes to myself, especially how she defined influence as anyone who can cause action and be influential over a specific subject, audience, or point in time. I promptly went home, ordered, and then devoured her book. Why was I so excited to discover Amanda? Because we were in the midst of building and releasing a tremendous upgrade to the ExpertVoice advocacy platform. And I couldn't imagine anyone more perfect than Amanda to help celebrate this important launch and tell the story about how to build authentic influence for your brand. Amanda and our CEO, Tom Stockham, will have a conversation today about marketing and how to build your most influential audiences into powerful advocates to scale your growth. Interspersed throughout, we'll show you how the new advocacy platform helps to bring this to life. Please feel free to post any questions you have in the chat, as we'll be sure to leave time at the end for Q&A. Without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce the CEO of ExpertVoice, Tom Stockham, and our distinguished guest, renowned author, speaker, marketing strategist, and professor, Amanda Russell.
Amanda, hello. You're working with some of the world's most progressive brands, and you're creating the marketing curriculum of the future at Harvard and at Kellogg and UCLA and the University of Texas. Why do you get so worked up about brands needing to make a big shift in the way they do marketing, and why now?
Because we are at a point in time that is going to be looked at just like how we currently look at the first communications revolution with the printing press. We are in a time where if we do not change and adapt, it's a crisis. And brands that are not changing are very, very vulnerable. To give you a sense, 2/3 of marketing is now done without us, meaning without the brand, without the marketers, meaning we can no longer push our messages out there. So who is that 2/3? That 2/3 is private, online, offline conversations. People are talking. People trust people that they resonate with. And I would argue that post-pandemic, I think we're more like 3/4. So the question as brands and marketers is, how do we earn our way into that 3/4? We can't do that by simply pushing our message from our CEO and from our advertising out there. And to add to that, half of your audience is already gone. Most people have downloaded ad blockers or basically tune them out anyway. It's even different now because now people are tired and burned out from seeing the overly produced Instagram curated life that they see it as an ad. And yes, you may get awareness, but that's not influence. And that is why I believe that influencer marketing, in order to understand it, we need to understand what is really influence and who and what is influencing our audience. Influence, very simply, has nothing to do with social media. It has nothing to do with reach, although that's what we tend to strive for as marketers. That's a great awareness metric. And it's not universal. It's not a job title. Everyone is influential. Influence simply is the ability to cause action. And the action is whatever desired outcome you want. That could be a sale, but that could also be getting someone to change their mind on something, a difference in thought, a change in behavior. Whatever the outcome your desired is, that's it. 2 things, ability and action. So by calling a lot of these content creators on social media and by judging influence by some vague term of engagement or following, does not necessarily have anything to do with your desired outcome. And it gives influencer marketing a bad rap because people will say, well, we tried this campaign and it didn't work. It's not that influencer marketing doesn't work. If you are just paying someone transactionally, here's X amount of dollars to place or endorse a product, that is just modern day advertising, whether it's online or offline. Influencer marketing is about relationships. And it's built on trust.
Got it. And that ties in, I think, we obviously pay a lot of attention to that. We pay a lot of attention to you. And we talk a lot about advocacy and how advocacy is really harnessing influence for the benefit of your brand, and really being able to identify the people who will have influence on your behalf, are willing to be your advocates, turning them into better advocates for your brand, more capable of influencing the outcomes that you as a brand want, and then getting the influence those people have where it matters to your business, to your customers.
This is what the future of marketing should look like. If you look at some of the most tribal-like brands, they will say they do no marketing. That's not true. Their marketing is their best customers. It's experts that endorse them. I mean, look at how Lululemon was grown. They said they did no marketing. That was all marketing. They had an army of happy customers, of yoga instructor experts in the field. They know that every employee is a touch point of their brand. They are well educated and they love the brand. If you look at some of the greatest brands and how they were built, they didn't do a bunch of transactional pay to plays. It was built because they have built a tribe that will stand up for them, that doesn't need to be paid to use or talk about their product.
Yeah, you are so right. The best brands, and we see it over and over again, the best brands recognize that the best strength in their brand, the best outcomes come when other people are talking about them. It's not that they're talking about themselves. And you were touching on this, how we don't have patience for brands to just talk about themselves. And when they really are thoughtful about how do they get other people talking about them.
It's 100% the third party credibility. It's the best analogy that I give to a lot of my students on this is what brands are currently trying to do or have been doing is they are, if you put this into an analogy of, if you were to go into a cocktail party where you know nobody and you start introducing yourself and telling them all about you and how great you are and how you have all these skills and abilities, and I also have a yacht in Monte Carlo and blah blah blah, people would be so, can you imagine what people would think? They would be so turned off. But yet as brands, that's what we're doing. We trust, but now, however, at that same cocktail party, if another person comes up and goes, oh, you know who's going to be here? XYZ. And he or she is blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden you are so excited to meet XYZ person. It's the same. That's how marketing has changed. The communications has changed. People don't trust the brand. They don't trust advertising. Social media platforms are now advertising platforms. People trust people that they resonate with. So we need to shift the conversation. We need to shift it into, let's stop trying to thinking about what we want to communicate and how can we earn our way into these conversations. And how we do that is, like, as you said, is by championing those people that are influencing the conversation in those internal conversations. Yeah.
Well, you talk about all that and it makes so much sense. And I know, having done had other conversations, people nod. It does. It just makes so much sense. Well, if it makes so much sense, why isn't everyone doing it already? Like, what's holding brands back when you talk with them?
It's almost like this. I love analogies. So, everyone's trying to come up with a weight loss solution. And here's a pill, take the pill and you're going to lose 25 pounds tomorrow. And no one's been able to cure that. Why? Because to really get to your fitness goals or weight loss goals, it takes a lot of upfront time and commitment. It is the same with building a brand and marketing. It takes time and often money upfront without a lot of short-term ROI. And the way that marketing is set up is on these short-term little timelines where you have to go present to the CFO or the CEO, here's what we made on our bottom line. When we spent X and in 4 weeks this happened. Well, think about a lot of big decisions. They're not made in that timeline.
Interesting. Yeah, we hear that a lot from brands, and we talk with our customers a lot about the difference between the way that if you're doing a lot of advertising type of marketing where you have an expense and it might be cost per acquisition or a cost per click or something that you're spending, but it is transactional. It is an expense. And the ability that now advocacy and thinking about influencer marketing correctly gives you to turn that into an investment. Money you spend today, effort you spend today, building relationships, building trust, pays off today and then multiple times going forward in the future. And that possibility of having a real investment in your brand building, in your commerce, in all of the ways and places that people can be influential on your behalf, turns what was an expense into an investment, but you have to make that decision early.
100%. It is an investment, not an expense.
Let's go one step closer to real practical, like the guts of how you do this on what's hard. And you touched on people, finding the people.
Yeah, the biggest challenges when it comes to influencer marketing usually go along the lines of who are the right influencers? How do we find them? How do we connect with them? And then how do we measure? And how do we find them? That's why I call it the meat of the sandwich. I break up step 2 of the code into 2 phases distinctly because people want to jump to how do I find the right influencer? And that's the wrong question to jump to after you set your objectives. You need to first study your audience. Where are they hanging out? What communities are they in? Who are leading these communities? Are they online? Are they offline? Is it a local church club? Who are the voices going on things like there's a lot of social listening where you can find, and a lot of this happens in these private kind of Facebook groups, Reddit groups, who's leading the conversations in these kind of groups. You will uncover so much information, figuring out where are these conversations happening and who's the authority in those conversations.
A lot of the brands we work with think about it in terms of channels. Like they think about who is influential in my physical retail channel. Coming back to some of your Lululemon comment about the people who really make a difference in Lulu stores, right? Or they think about who's writing reviews that are really good that would be helpful in my e-commerce setting, or who's creating the content that is image content that will be on Instagram or that will be someplace.
Exactly.
Channel specific types of influence. And who are the people then who have the influence that's making a difference for the customer? Amanda, before we move on with the conversation, I'd love for you to see how the ExpertVoice advocacy platform helps brands address the challenge of finding and connecting with the right people.
I'm so excited to share the ExpertVoice advocacy platform with you. ExpertVoice is a place for brands to connect with verified influencers and turn them into powerful advocates. Today, I'm joined by our Chief Product Officer, Greg Cox, to help show how the platform can help you build advocacy in all the channels where consumers look for advice. Before we jump in, it's important to understand there are 2 sides to this experience. We'll start with the member experience, which you'll hear us refer to as the expert experience. This is exclusive to expert members when they are logged into the platform. Here, you are seeing what the experience might look like for a qualified expert. So who are these experts and how do they get access? It's simple, really. It's based on their ability to prove their expertise, that they are someone consumers look to for advice about what to buy in a certain category or industry. Every member of the platform has been through an extensive vetting process, using a combination of manual and machine verification to prove their expertise. That means the expert either uploads documentation, like a pay stub, ID, or other industry certification, or they are auto-approved based on their email address or a list provided by their retailer or organization. The expert network is always growing. Experts invite other qualified experts using the app. Retailers and organizations invite people. And brands like you can bring your own trusted influencers, whoever they might be. This process results in a robust audience of vetted and credentialed experts that you can target or engage based on their expertise. In short, you can provide the right personalized experience to the right expert. For example, Let's look at this expert member, Jonathan. We know from their profile that they work at REI and the Bretton Woods Golf Course, but also that they are a personal trainer. That means brands like Garmin might provide them with product education to help them sell their brand, while Cellucor might target them to gather feedback from an industry professional on product performance. Now, I'll turn it over to Greg to show you the brand experience.
Awesome. Thanks, Becky. Here we are in the advocacy platform, which we lovingly call the AP. As a brand, this is where you manage all of your ExpertVoice programs. Your targeting options in the AP are extremely flexible. You can reach large category audiences, or you can use extremely precise targeting to build distinct communities of experts who opt into a relationship with your brand. We are going to take a look at the Community Manager. This allows you to easily build a custom application form and set clear expectations for the people that apply. As you build out your application, you can preview how it looks on mobile or the web, which is important because the application is available to recruit from both on and off the ExpertVoice platform. Once you start receiving applications, vetting the applicants is very easy. Simply select the fields you want to review. Use the preview function to get a deeper look at the applicant's profile and platform activity. Rank your favorites and make any personal notes to help you manage your members. By the way, you will see many places in the AP where you can make notes about an expert, and these are all collected in one place. Finally, select the members who are the best fit for your community. Okay, that was the brand side of things. Let's take a look at how this all plays out from the expert's point of view. I'm now in the Expert app, which is available on the web, iOS, and Android. This is a community page where members see all of the campaigns associated with this community. Campaigns might include a lesson to educate members about your latest brand initiative. It might be an activity campaign that asks them for some specific UGC. It could be the opportunity to purchase products at a special price. Or a simple challenge for members to test their knowledge against fellow community members. The most successful communities are also about the members engaging with each other. Community posts allow the brand to host a conversation with community members. The brand manages all of this communication back in the AP, with the ability to quickly create new posts and polls, or to just email members directly. And it's easy to track and monitor engagement with your campaigns, using the reports we've built into various places in the AP experience.
Thanks, Greg. As you can see, the Community Manager makes it easy to identify, manage, and reward your most influential advocates. Already, we've seen brands like Mammut recruit avalanche safety ambassadors. Outdoor Research engaged a product testing group for the latest update to their Feroci line. And Athlon Optics recruited their top experts to engage in monthly activities and provided them guidance on creating an informative review. When you have the right tools to identify and manage people with influence, you can build relationships based on passion instead of paid transactions, because you are partnering with genuine advocates for your brand.
So let's shift for a second. Let's start talking about how to make this practical. Like, what are the steps to doing this well? A real strategy and real tactics to go and create a really powerful influencer marketing advocacy program.
Well, not to shamelessly plug, but I call it the code. I wrote a book on it called The Code, and it's basically 3 simple steps. So the 3 simple steps are goal. What is the ultimate outcome? So we got to start with the bottom line, and everything else those are marketing objectives, and they usually fall into 2 categories: awareness or conversion. Phase 2 is observe now your influencers. What matters to them? Where are they hanging out? What are they Googling that is answering their problems in regards to the outcome we want to achieve? Who are they consulting with? Where are they? We need to hang out where they hang out. What are their goals, their motives? Because for step 3 to happen, which is the connection, you need to know how to influence the influencer. Influencing the influencer is kind of where the magic and the differentiator between advertising and real advocacy happens. And that is the idea that you have to spend time understanding what influences the influencer. What are their goals, their objectives, their motives? What are they all about? Their beliefs and their values? How can you help them? How can you provide them with real value? in which they want to work with you beyond just a transaction. When it becomes beyond a pay to play, then it's a real relationship. But that can only happen. Think about all the relationships in your life. If someone doesn't come up to you and say, I will pay you X number of dollars to be my friend. It is built on an exchange of value. In order to build a real relationship, you need to build trust, and you have to have a mutually beneficial goal. And oftentimes the best partnerships don't involve any transaction.
Right, exactly. That resonates so deeply with me. When I think about the members of the ExpertVoice platform, they join because they want to be a part of something bigger. They want exclusive access to the brands they're passionate about. They value the access to the education that makes them better at their jobs. They love the chance to influence future product development and the opportunity to put the latest and greatest products to the test. I'm going to turn it back over to Becky and Greg to show us how brands use the advocacy platform to influence the influencer.
Your brand may have a strategy for sending products to people they hope will recommend their brand. But there is a tremendous opportunity to get more quality outputs from the people you count on to provide quality recommendations. Think about all those people who are asked for advice about your products but have never actually used them. Personal trainers who have never been injured or participated in an activity, yet they provide advice on tools for recovery. Ski instructors who get asked about beginner skis, or pet store employees who provide feeding advice for animals they don't own. The ExpertVoice Campaign Manager unlocks the ability to connect with your most influential audiences and provide them the personalized education and experience they need to fuel their passion or simply improve their expertise to make them better at their job, wherever they live, work, or play. Let's turn it back to Greg to show you how it works.
Thanks, Becky. We're back in the advocacy platform and now in the campaign manager. First, we'll choose the kind of campaign we want to run. For today, I'm going to choose a simple education campaign. The first step is selecting the audiences you want your campaign to reach. Choose the applicable ones from your audience library. Now you can populate your campaign with lessons from your library or create your own lessons. We'll take a quick look at creating a lesson. Selecting a structured module provides a template to work from. From here, it's plug and play. As you enter the content and imagery, a preview screen confirms how it will appear across various devices. If you want to test what people have learned from a lesson, you can end it with a short quiz if you like. Successful completion of the quiz can also unlock a reward. Then schedule a campaign or launch it immediately. As experts engage with your campaigns, you will have access to rich analytics that help you to manage your program. Find your most engaged experts. Reward retailers who have the most active associates, whether you recognize the entire store or the individual associates. You can see where your products are gaining traction and where you might want to focus more attention. We want to make it easy for you to quickly scale your efforts to reach thousands or even hundreds of thousands of influential experts. The Campaign Manager offers much more than education and product seeding. You can also ask experts to fill out surveys, to do specific activities, or to challenge them to compete against each other. Another powerful campaign type we added recently is the product sampling campaign. You can use it to hand select a group of vetted product testers to support your next big launch, or to boost UGC for products already in market. The advocacy platform makes it easy to build an application, outline the steps you'd like them to complete, customize the automated messaging for each step of the campaign, review, select, and segment your applicants, and then watch and measure the progress.
It's been so fun to see the myriad of ways brands are using the platform. Recently, Climate was looking to support the launch of their Climaloft sleeping pad. But this isn't a pad you ship to just anyone who camps. It's for someone who cares about ultimate comfort and camps out of their car. And because it comes in a single or a double, they needed to be sure some of their product testers were people who were sharing the comfort with someone else. These aren't the kind of product testers you can just source with a third party. With the ability to build a custom application, Climate was easily able to vet out and hand select a group of qualified testers segment the group into single and double testers, and gather dozens of photos and reviews to support their product launch, all in a matter of weeks in the middle of winter. Climate is still using the content and testimonials in customer newsletters today. While everything you've seen is available as self-service, the entire platform is supported by the experienced ExpertVoice Studios team, who has built award-winning content for thousands of brands. From custom video lessons to rich and interactive educational experiences, the Studios team knows what resonates with experts and can take care of the work for you to bring your brand story to life with your most influential audiences.
You had said earlier something close to that if brands don't embrace this change that's coming, it's a crisis. And if they do, it's a revolution. And just even you're talking about the difference between investment versus an expense. Like the brands that are figuring out how to make the investment are the brands for whom it will be a revolution. And the brands that can't figure out how to make the transition from the expense of advertising into more of this influencer and advocacy, it's going to be a crisis for them.
Yeah, Tom, it's an endurance sport. Marketing is an endurance sport. And as a former long distance runner, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen quickly. And you have to put the infrastructure, the training plan in place. That doesn't mean that it's not going to pivot or change along the way. That's different. I don't say you have to stick immediately to this. Like you put in the mile markers. And in marketing, they call them KPIs or key performance indicators or whatever jargon you want to use. But basically, what is the outcome we want to achieve? And you don't just drive in that direction aimlessly forever. And you put the mile markers in place to see, okay, well, what's doing well there? You know what? Like, for example, Zico coconut water, when they launched, it was a new product category. Completely new. So they weren't just launching the coconut water. They had to actually turn North Americans into the idea of drinking something kind of woo-woo. And they thought, Mark Rampolla, the founder, he was convinced, and as were we all, that we thought we were looking at the different market segments. We're like, you know who we need to champion? We need to champion all the like personal trainers, fitness instructors, triathletes, especially endurance athletes, because hey, this drink is all about putting the electrolytes and the potassium back in you, hydration. Pivoting by putting mile markers in place, we learned that was not the most pinnacle market. It was too out there for them. You know who became the champion market? Before it was really mainstream, yoga instructors. Yoga instructors, because they were the early adopters of a lot of this kind of stuff. And yoga was not yet like the same as SoulCycle. It was more kind of like new agey, and that beverage was considered new agey. So sometimes it takes a pivot, but you've got to figure out. And oftentimes the founders and the CEOs and the leaders of the company, no matter how smart they are, it's not a factor of being smart. They have an internal bias they can't help. Don't often see who the most optimal advocates might actually be, or the most optimal audience might actually be. It might be totally different than the reason you even came out with the product.
So we touched on investment and really getting something that works over the long term, really becomes durable advocacy. How do you do that? How do you get something that keeps paying off in a relationship?
You have to constantly nurture it. I mean, you have to constantly provide value. A good relationship is an exchange of continuous value. We all know that friend that just always asks us for something, and you kind of want to like, oh God, they're calling again. I wonder what they want. If you're always just asking for things, then that's not an exchange of value. That's not durable. You're not going to have advocates. I always like to say, tell my brands, you need to give more than you think you're going to receive. And it sounds kind of cheesy and cliche, but it's so true. And just before we talked today, I was having this conversation. People don't understand that business is about relationships. That is an investment.
How do you influence the influencer? How do you keep in mind as a brand that you want different people to do different things, and yet you need them to be your advocate? You need to have them go in the direction that's important to you.
Yeah, I think it has to be a careful line between giving them the tools and nurturing in the value and, not micromanaging. Because if you are trying to micromanage the script, that's advertising.
This other really important step, and we talk about it, you are talking about it when you're saying outcomes and the where of the outcome, is matching the thought about the outcome with the way you want someone to behave. How do you want to influence the influencer? So if you want a better outcome in a store, you want someone to be more capable of having a conversation face to face with a customer. If you want a better expression of your brand on social media, you want visual content creators who are doing more around that. If you want more feedback on what your next product line should be, you want people who are the right types of people telling you, well, if this product did something different next, that's what I'd really like. So matching and being thoughtful about outcomes, which could be channel specific, they could be social media or whatever specific, matching those with, okay, but who do I want participating in that, helping me with that? And what kind of content do I want them to create? Is it a conversation? Is it a review? Is it image content, video, those kinds of things?
Right. The medium.
Yeah.
The medium is often the message.
And then the measuring the outcome. It's that, okay, I knew I wanted an outcome.
One of the toughest questions in all of marketing.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of the big impediments we find too with making the shift. People know how to think about whether they're getting a good ROAS or whether they're getting a cost per click that's competitive or things like that. They're less comfortable yet thinking about, oh, well, how do I measure influence? How do I measure advocacy and other people speaking on my behalf? And how do I get to, is the conversion rate on my e-commerce site going up? Is my footprint on social media getting better in the ways I wanted it to get? Is my sell-through improving because people are doing better for me? Is my brand healthier because these people are out speaking on my behalf, not me speaking on my own behalf? For years, we've all felt intuitively like this stuff, what influential people say on our behalf, is so valuable. But we haven't had a way to make it tangible and measurable for our own brand. There have been studies like the one you refer to off the top, the McKinsey study. 2/3 of all marketing is happening without us. But how do we tie into it and really start to make it tangible and measurable and scalable for my brand, for our specific brand? Well, now, with the advocacy platform, we really can get at that. So let's break away one last time for Becky and Greg to bring that to life.
Finding and sourcing authentic content can be a full-time job for any marketer. The beauty of connecting with advocates is that they are invested in your brand. They want to share their passion for your brand and how they are using your products. The advocacy platform provides a closed environment to share their experiences. And they do it voluntarily, using the mobile app or right on their desktop, posting product reviews and UGC that you can review. And it's more than just reviewing the content. Part of the member agreement states that any content or opinions shared on the ExpertVoice platform can be used by ExpertVoice and its partners, you. Which means you can use their UGC in all of your marketing efforts, any content, whether your brand is featured or not. Before we check out the brand experience, let's look at how expert content is featured to other experts. Here we are in the expert feed. You can see the latest posts from experts in the network. You can read their review and then click through to see what else this expert likes to post about. Let's take a closer look at this photo they shared. It looks like they tagged Black Diamond. Let's visit the brand and see what other experts are posting about them. Here, on Black Diamond's landing page, we can see any photos that experts have posted and tagged with their brand. I'll turn it back to Greg for the brand experience to show the access you have to UGC and how you can put it to work in more places.
We'll start in the AP Review Manager, where you can see any reviews on your products that have been posted on ExpertVoice. At the most fundamental level, this content shows tangible evidence of your strategy at work. You might be making assumptions about how advocates represent your brand out in the world, but here you can see what they actually say about your products. It's easy to browse your reviews. You can filter by sentiment. You can also use our AI-based quality score to find the highest quality reviews, or filter by many other attributes, even things like whether the reviewer used images or whether they have a profile picture. Moving on to the Content Manager, this is where you can see all the organic social posts that have been shared on ExpertVoice. You can search the library of photos posted by any expert across the platform, review photos where experts have tagged your brand specifically, and you can organize the posts into albums. You can also recognize your favorite creators with an award. Personalize the award to let them know what you appreciate about their content or where you've shared it. The award will also give them extra recognition amongst their peers in the expert feed, as you can see in this example. If you want to take some great content from ExpertVoice and share it on another social platform like Instagram, the new snapshots feature makes that really easy. Simply create a new snapshot, decide if you want a single image or a bundle of images, then customize as you wish. In this expert image, we could choose to hide the profile picture and the affiliation, or to remove the information about the expert completely. Once you've created your snapshot, it's ready to download and share in your social channels. One of the most powerful features of the advocacy platform is the way it integrates with e-commerce experiences. You can use the AP to automatically send product reviews from ExpertVoice to your own e-commerce web pages and to retailer e-commerce stores. Here you can see our customer koala tree using our recommendation display to show ExpertVoice reviews of their popular Trailhead pants. More than 100 brands are currently using the recommendation display on their e-commerce pages, making it easy for consumers to see the most helpful reviews while increasing their confidence to purchase with visibility into the reviewer's real name and expertise. In third-party studies of about a dozen of these implementations, brands are seeing an average 40% increase in revenue per session on product detail pages that use the recommendation display. And it's so easy to implement. The recommendation display offers several customization options to match the look and feel of your site. The installation itself is a simple copy and paste of a small code fragment into your e-commerce template. Choosing the reviews to display is also very easy. You can do so manually, but most brands use our automated curation to select exactly the reviews that they think are the most helpful according to a simple set of rules. For example, only featuring reviews where the reviewer has a profile picture, or displaying reviews with high quality scores. And of course, you can manually override the automatic choices anytime you need to.
Your reviews can also be syndicated via top review providers such as BazaarVoice, Yotpo, and Power Reviews, so you can feature your most impactful reviews on the curated display while also enhancing your stream of customer reviews, ensuring your online shoppers always have access to recent quality reviews about your products. The content and review management features of the AP not only let you see what your advocates say about your brand, but they make it easy to get their trusted, authentic UGC in front of more consumers to boost trust and increase sales. To wrap up, let's do a quick review of the ways the AP will help you reach more consumers with trusted, authentic recommendations. Easily gather the people who should be recommending your brand and products and create communities where they develop deep, long-lasting relationships with your brand. Strengthen the advocacy and recommendations from these people through education, first-hand experiences with your products, and by gathering their valuable insights. Collect product reviews in UGC and put these recommendations to work where they matter most, using tools that make it easy to publish and syndicate content into e-commerce experiences and social platforms. And measure the impact of it all, sharing learnings across your entire company as you continue to grow.
So Amanda, we're approaching the end of our time together, which means for those of you watching, if you haven't already, you can drop your questions in the Q&A. Let me play back some of what we've discussed. You're really anchored up front on outcomes. Like, what outcomes do you want? Is it awareness? Is it sell through? Is it conversion on your website? Is it a brand building on social media? That outcome thinking. Who is creating those outcomes? Who are the people who have authentic influence with your customers that would create those outcomes in those places? How do you influence those people? Influencing the influencers. How do you get them to be better on your behalf? And then putting through that connection, putting what they are saying, what they're doing, the content they're creating in the places that matter to the customer. And then I would inject the last thing, you have to measure it. You have to know whether you created the outcomes you wanted.
It's amazing that we found each other, but not surprising because it's a really small world as well. And I literally wrote a book and a curriculum and transformed my whole career from something very different into making this into a mission. I think it's a movement for the future of brands, and that when done right, it is transformative. And it's the difference between long-term legacy success and failure. And to know that you guys are doing it, you're not really just doing it for brands. You are that company. And even in the short period of time that I've interacted with you, I've just been blown away by how what quality people and how personable every one of you is, that I actually would say to anybody listening to this, shaking their head, that either has questions or that wants to learn more or or still isn't quite sure, that I would probably even volunteer you, Tom, to say, you know what, Tom will probably respond to you right away if you sent him an email, or within, a reasonable amount of time, because he's that kind of person.
I absolutely would. Hey, if this is intriguing to you and it's the kind of thing where you felt like, oh, we need to do something like this, but we needed a catalyst. If this is enough of the catalyst, hey, please email me. tom.stockham@expertvoice.com.
There, I've just created another job for Tom.
It's so good to talk with you. Really refreshing.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been, you're a company pushing forward my mission. So it's a pleasure.